Okay. Yeah, so another review. Look at me. Twice in 1 week. So I finally got to see Talk to Me, and it's the movie written by YouTubers. I followed Raka Raka, followed, still do, for a while. Like, God, how many jobs ago was that? Like, I'm just like thinking I would watch it like on my lunch break and stuff like that. So I got introduced to them from some person that I no longer speak to, and they were just like, "Hey, you do special effects, yada yada. Look at these guys' YouTube page, and they do a lot of the like quick editing. It's like, oh my god, throw a knife and it's like, really good effects, really good editing, really dumb shit too. When they had like Star Wars stuff like in the parking lot or whatever, not. And they were doing that, and I remember they were saying how like, hey, we're writing a script for a horror film, like go right ahead, like I don't give a shit, like there are little things that they do. I'm like, whatever. And then they were like, hey, our horror film got picked up. And I'm just like, in all honesty, I didn't think I would see it because, they are Australian. I think, like, in my head, I was like, it's going to stay, like, super small. You know what I mean? Like, thinking it's going to be something where it's like, you got to pay $1 online to watch it. There's no other way. Or it's that Werner Herzog volcano documentary, pay $2.99 on the special volcano website, like to watch it kind of thing. And I was like, whatever, man, I'll support these dudes. But then when they had announced that like A24 picked it up, I was like, oh, like this is serious. Again, good on them, good on them. Um, and then it's funny because I didn't even realize like um that their movie was called Talk to Me. Like it just didn't correlate because I'm busy and tired. Until then, like I remember there were people who were like, "Hey, have you watched Talk to Me? It's a really good horror film." And I was like, "Oh, not yet because hello, just been busy." And I was like, "All right." And then I remember one day, like when I was going through Instagram and finally seeing one of the brothers post, and they're like, "Hey, our movie's been doing really well." Oh, it was like we got a sequel now, and I was like, "Oh shit!" And it was called Talk to Me, and I was like, "Oh, that's their movie." Oh shit, 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 shit. I was like, "Oh fuck." All right. It's hair's all knotted, shit. Okay. Um, and then people I follow online who like movies and good horror and all that stuff were talking about how good it is. I was like, all right. Again, I was gonna get to it, but finally after, um, so you have to watch something bad like Insidious 5, to, watch something good like Talk to Me, and I put this on and I'm proud of those guys, man. This is good. Um, you know, like not to be that person who's like, oh, I wasn't scared by any of it, but I'm like, it's spooky. It's got like the ooh kind of like feel to it. But again, like it says a lot if I'm scared by a movie. So me saying I'm not scared by it doesn't mean it sucked. It just means that I was just like, I mean, again, I saw the scares coming and they were good. The makeup was good, the acting was good. The story was pretty interesting, all that stuff. This was a very good, quick 90 minutes. Like, no joke, at one point, I'm doing the thing I did last time, how far are we into the movie? And then I was like, oh, we've got 30 minutes left, like a whole ass hour went by. Because it's like the movie it didn't feel like, like how other people write movies where it's very obvious, like, that was the end of the first act, that was the end of the second act, that was the, what I mean, when they do that. That's why I always joke about cueing the third act music kind of stuff, because usually when the third act starts, there's this like music that plays. Um, so anyway, yeah. I guess spoilers if you haven't watched it, because what the movie came out, what, June, July, whatever, one, two, three, spoilers. So so this movie's about like, it's a group of teenagers and all that stuff. They have this hand that's apparently embalmed and then like wrapped in some shit, and it's a hand of like a medium or something. And it's kids, so they like drew all over and all that stuff. And you're supposed to light some candle because that's supposed to like help open the passageway or something. And you're supposed to hold it, like you're shaking hands with it, and you say "talk to me," and then you immediately see some spirit in front of you, and you're just like, oh shit, what is this? Um, and then of course you're scared. Um, But to like really get the experience, instead you say I let you in, and then it's like people eyes go blown out black, and your the ghostly dead spirit of the person goes into you. So sometimes they'll either do whatever and just like have fun and just be like, okay, I'm just girl kind of stuff, or they're just like or like the one I took over, the young boy just started to fuck him up. So you're supposed to go about a minute, nothing longer than that, and once you're done, blow out the candle. They grab the hand away from the person, and then it's like, yay, we're good. How was that? Because there was a fun kind of like montage of like everyone at the party doing it. They're all just like that was fun to like watch that. Because yeah, the movie starts off with like there's like some guy at a party, and like the brother picks him up, and he just like takes a knife and just stabs himself in the eye. I'm like, great way to start a movie. I was like, it's a great way to start a movie. Um, yeah, and then these friends who do it, and so there's like this. I do like all over the place. I do like how they wrote the script of like there's this girl. She is a bit of like a loner, kind of like trying to insert herself into this other girl's family because all she has is her dad now because her mom most likely killed herself. This is what is perceived in the movie. It's like said she did, but then ghostly you know possessed dad said no, like it's a lot of that kind of thing. um so so she's trying to insert herself with this family because the girl's got a little brother and a mom, and it's like more of like a full family, all that stuff. And also, yeah, the writing about like the friendship and the people were very like you cared. You know what I mean? Again, it's not like other horror movies where you're like, I don't give a shit about these people. Let's just see how they die. Let's just like give me the gore kind of stuff. This one, like, you cared about each and every one of them, like even the shitty friends who were like, hey yo, like you're the one who made them go over like a minute, da da da, it's not supposed to be like that. So that was very interesting because again, you gave a shit about everyone. Because again, usually when it's like a group of friends, there's like the main character and then like the main character's friend you kind of care about if you want to care about them, and everyone else could just like you wait for them to get picked off one by one. But it's not with this case. No one gets like picked off one by one like that. It's really just so they go to the party. It's the montage thing I was saying, and then the young brother of the girl, the friend girl, whatever, the little boy, he's he wants to do it, and they're like, no, you can't, you're too young. And then the little brother is like, okay, well, what if I just do it for like 50 seconds instead of a whole 60 seconds, or some kind of stuff. And the main girl just kind of like, sure, which you know obviously, if you're going to be that person, you're going to be like, well, the whole reason all this shit happened was because the main girl caused it. Sure. But also, like, if you want to be deep about it, the movie's a lot about grief as well, because, like I said, her mom had passed away, and all that stuff. So, you know, the little boy did the whole, like, talk to me, da da da, and then, and it's just kind of like, oh, kind of stuff, and doesn't know how to respond because everyone you see who's dead, you see them how like they died, just all like blah, 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 all that stuff. And then he's like, I let you in," and then he's in, and then it was just like it sounded like the girl's mom, and of course the girl is just like, I want to speak to my mom once again. And again, this is the difference between me and her, is that if somehow I was dumb enough to play one of these things, I would never. But if I was dumb enough and then someone somehow contacted my dad or something, I wouldn't be like, Father, I must speak to my father. I would be like, no. Not that I would have, again, not that I would get into playing these fucking games anyway, because hell to the no. But if I was, younger and dumber, and I'd be like, yeah, let's contact spirits, and then someone, that was possessed by them and sounded like my dad, I wouldn't be like, I need to speak to him, I'm just like, no, we done, like, it been done, you know. See, that's why I'm different. Anyway, so of course he ended up the spirit thing of the mom, or possibly not, or whatever, was in the little boy way longer, and then and they didn't blow out the candle at 60 seconds because they were even trying to be like, hey, yo, we had 50 seconds, let's do it, let's go. But she's just like, I need to speak to you. Like, because she's grieving. Again, everyone grieves differently. And she's just kind of like, oh, all that stuff. And then they're like, hey, we're past it. And then because it went past the time that they normally do it, all of a sudden the boy's like, he's thrown back against the, like, window, and glass shatters, and, like, all that stuff. And then he's just like banging his head like crazy, just busting the fuck out of his face, um on this table and all that stuff. And you know and everyone else was like, what the fuck was that? Because I don't think when they reported this that they said that the friends were over. I think it was just like, we, like, I know they obviously said we don't know what happened. He just started banging his head. Like, obviously they didn't say that they had a party, because the mom beforehand kept being like, what time's the party? And they're like, there's no party, even though they had like a mini party. So, you know of course, like, the kid's hospitalized and all that stuff. And then the girl, she's starting to see things without, holding the hand, kind of stuff. And she's like, what the fuck? And again, me being me, I'm thinking, that's most likely, one, because you fucked around and found out, and two, because again, everyone grieves differently, and other people didn't see things, even like the two friends who probably had done the thing a bajillion times, because again, like, she's grieving, so she's having psychosis and seeing it. But again, that's just me. I'm just looking too into it. We're just watching a horror film about, spooky stuff. But anyway, so yeah, so she's starting to see stuff without, playing around. And then at one point, she even was like, what was it like? She even was like, oh, let me do the thing by myself. And it's like, why would you do the thing? Because she took the hand. Like, why would you do the thing by yourself? It's like the cardinal rules. Like, you don't fuck with that shit by yourself. It's like, you don't, you know, fuck around with a Ouija board by yourself, kind of stuff. But it's like, she's like, just did it, lit a candle, ooh, and then she's like, oh my god, I'm talking to my mother. Like, I was like, oh my god, girl, you're so stupid. And again, it's a really well written character. The fact that, like, it's the main character, you're supposed to have her back, but you're like, God, she's so fucking stupid. Like, it's good. It's good writing. But of course, I'm still gonna say, God damn, you're so fucking stupid, because that's good writing. Um, and so yeah, like, what was it like? She started seeing, like, spirit of her mom, like, in the hospital, like, oh, she's over there, and then she's like, over there, kind of stuff. And then, oh my god, when she was like freaking out, and like seeing, oh, how when she got home, and you just like see the dad from like this weird angle, I was like, that's not her dad. Look at me, and it was like, that's not her dad. And the dad shows up, he's like looking, and then he's like, and so she's having, again, psychosis, she's having a breakdown in the room, and she's like, all that stuff. Actual dad busts in the room, and that must have done a number on the dad, because he, as you saw, like, in the movie, the dad was the one who busted open the door to then find the mom dead. So imagine him, like, hearing his daughter scream and having to bust down the door and seeing his daughter just writhing on the floor, and then she still thinks it's, possessed demon dad. She goes and grabs scissor and just stabs the dad in the neck, and I was like, no! That was like the one time I actually spoke out loud in the, like, watching the movie, and I was like, no! Because everything else I was just like, all right, cool. When that happened, I was like, ah! Like, I'm devastated. Like, no, you killed your dad. And it's like, because, like, she stabbed him, and then she pulls it out, And then, yeah, later the friend found him. I'm like, did she call 911, or did she just leave him to... The fact that he was still alive, he just, like, had, like, a towel, and he's like, I'm like, wow, how are you not dead, sir? Good on you. Um, yeah, and the fact that, I don't know, when the friend went to her house, if she saw, I don't know, anyway. So, but yeah, so, in her mind, she thinks, oh, we have to end it, because they had talked to the guy from the brother guy, whatever, beginning of the movie, who was like, oh, you have to end it or whatever. And then, oh, they were also saying, like, did we ever blow out the candle? And all that stuff, like, they were trying to do little things, but they did it real quick. It wasn't one of those things where it was, like, drawn out. But the girl, her idea was like, all right, well, we have to kill the brother in case he's still possessed, and that will, cease everything. So she puts him in a wheelchair and pushes him out. I always love those kind of scenes in movies where it's like, but the person was right there. Like the nurse is always like, the parent is always like, where did my son go? And the nurse walks in and is like, they were right there a minute ago. I always fucking love that. Again, I know it's a movie. It's supposed to be all like, suspension of disbelief. But like, you know, there's no way you can leave a hospital with a person. There's just like, no, I don't know. It has to be a really shitty hospital. And that's when you're like, Anyway, so, so, she wheels her brother out, and the hospital's near like a highway, and she's just like, I'm just gonna push him onto the highway, and you're like, oh my god. And a lot of people are like, oh shit, that ending. Again, not to be that person, but like, I didn't find the ending like so spectacular. I know what they were going for with that ending. So like, he gets it, and then you're like, oh, she's gonna push him, and all of a sudden you just see from the perspective of one of the vehicles, like inside the vehicle, so you just suddenly see broken windshield, and oh god, they're like, oh, trying to right the car, and they're like, are you okay? And then you see that the girl went into traffic. Now, you can either say, instead of sacrificing the brother, she decided to sacrifice herself, or, because of how it later played out, the girl got to her, because when she got back to the hospital, she sees her wheeling the brother out. The girl sees her and then pushes her into the traffic. Either way, bitch is like, on the street, on the highway. And then she gets up, and I was like, no, there's no way she's alive. You know what I mean? It's like, there's no way she's alive. She thinks she's alive. She's splat out, on the road. And, you see the sister, like, holding the brother, and he's just, like, looking. And then she walks back into the hospital, and, she gets back in the hospital. She sees that the little brother is fine, and he's not even, like, jacked up in any way, and they're leaving the hospital, and then the lights start going off. And she's like, what? And then she, like, turns around, sees her dad. She's like, father, And as she's going further down the hallway, and of course, like, the dad's not close enough for her, he hits the elevator, and, like, and then as the doors close, like, the lights go off, and she's like, what? Like, not getting it kind of stuff. And again, it's like, girl, you're dead. Like, it's very obvious you're dead. And as someone who also had worked in a hospital for a very short time, whenever I see the whole, like, lights turning off in a hospital thing, it just reminds me of, like, when I did have to go to, like, the abandoned ward, because that's where, like, storage was. That was, you're like, oh yeah, go take this path, go this way, to go take the elevator to floor number da-da-da, and then it's the first room to your left, and that's where all the boxes are. Just start grabbing boxes. Okay, you get there, and it's like, there's like the little, like, hanging fluorescent thing, ting, 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 blinking in the background, and I'm like, ugh. This is back in, like, flip phone era. This was like 2006, so I had like a shitty flip phone, so like any pictures, believe me, nowadays, oh, I would have been like, it was spoopy, just to say the very least. But anyway, so yeah, she's just like, what the fuck? And then she, like, you hear like a match being struck and a candle being lit, and it's just like this dark spot. So she starts walking to it, and there's like some person, with their hand out. And you're like, huh? You couldn't tell. And at first I was like, oh, is that the brother who, like, stabbed himself in the eye? Like, who's that? And then she puts, then she holds the hand, and then suddenly you hear talk to me, and then all of a sudden it's like this Spanish family, because you hear some kind of, you hear Spanish or whatever happening, and she's like, huh? And then the guy goes, I let you in, and then boom, done. Like, that's great. I love how it's like, I'm like, you're just a spirit who doesn't know, like, where you belong, and then you just go, oh, there's a light, I should go to that light, like, there's someone with a hand out, I guess I'll hold their hand over this candle, and then you're like, oh, so it's like, oh shit, because, I mean, remember, there's two hands, what I mean, like, they had the one hand, and then where the other hand go, which is very interesting. But yeah, I enjoyed this movie. This is fun, you know. It's good to see good horror, you know, after especially after that last one I watched. It's like you know, always talk about like good indie horror. Good for them for getting that A24 bag, you know, because they deserve it. They've obviously been like hardworking dudes. I'm glad they have a sequel to it. I mean, this didn't really need a sequel, but who knows what the sequel's going to be? Is it a continuation of that family? You know, at the end of the thing, is it going to be from her is it going to be the girl, you know, from her perspective as a spirit the entire time, you know, like who fucking knows. I really hope it doesn't become like one of those where it's like we're 17 installments in kind of stuff. You know, get your sequel bag and then, you know, go on to the next movie, you know what I mean. But anyway, talk to me.